light. 2 or more. Comfortable.
Have you been in this light before?
Yes.
So you're familiar?
Yes.
Can you talk to this light? Can you communicate with it?
They can talk through me.
Would it be okay for both parties involved if we can talk?
Yes.
Am I talking to the light now?
Yes.
Thank you for coming through. We've been a little bit excited about today. There seems to be a lot of help from like the other side, from Dolores, beings we've never seen before to get to this point to conduct this therapy. So this therapy does feel important. Was it yourselves that wanted this therapy to be done today?
We are a collective. It is not one group of beings who wants this connection. It is the collective waiting outside of your known space within this planet. We are all watching and waiting. We intersect with beings that we have familiar connections with in past lives, as you would know them.
And are all these beings that want this being conducted today, do they all have good intentions?
Some try to come through that do not have good intentions. This is unfortunate, but is the sickness that this planet has. It is the large concentration of negative energy that is here that allows this to transpire.
Right, okay, so the last one, Clarissa's experienced negative energy. Is this some sort of attack because they don't want this to take place?
Yes, that is right.
That is right. Can you protect, are you able to protect Lewis? Or does he need to learn that? Or?
It is a choice we all must make to protect ourselves. We are waiting, ready to help. It saddens us greatly that this being and others may go through this. We can only watch and offer some small advice, help. We can come through in subtle ways, as only in this state can we talk properly. So it is up to this being and others that are in this room to understand that they must recognise these thoughts and feelings as something that is not them.
It makes a lot of sense. What would be your advice for everyone in this room and the people that can listen to this, if they are having negative thoughts and feel that it's not them, that it's something else?
Recognising that as separate is the first step. The negative energy will try and convince you that it belongs inside you, that it is part of who you are and who you have been. That is not true. You are a being of light and love, and the darkness does not belong. So recognising is the first step. The second one is to concentrate on it in meditative state or a calm state, to try and feel the gap between your being as is, as was created, and the beings that are trying to attach to you, or the energies that are trying to attach to you. Like seeing a candlelight in the dark, you can see the edge of the flame. This must this is what you must look for. You will see in the flame there may be areas of darkness leaching in, and you can clear them, cut them off these strands or cords. Sometimes they use the physical body to infect. Foods that we eat, the things that we consume, all play a part in this. They allow a weakness to present itself for these energies to leach into. Once they are there in your physical dense bodies here on this earth plane, it is very difficult to get rid of them. It takes work and is part of your lesson here. It is part of the reason you chose to come here, to understand this level of dense physicality. They do not last forever, and they will go with time.
Because do these naturally go if you reach a higher vibration anyway? Will they naturally just fall off?
They will to an extent, but it is difficult to reach a higher vibration without getting rid of them. They are like bags of sand weighing you down, and if you were to try and swim in the water, they would pull you down below the surface. You must shed some of them before ascending.
Do they attack certain individuals who are objective is ascending? So they're going to attack individuals who are on that path?
Yes, that is their sole purpose.
Right, okay. And why do they do that? Is it their source of like their food?
It is their nature. They are of the other side, something which is opposite to what we are trying to create. It is merely a form of control. They are trying to keep you below, placated, so that they can serve their purpose. Their purpose is like a leech, a tick, an insect that feeds off others. This is what they want, this is what they are seeking. A race in which are unbeknown, we struggle to describe, but a race that has no knowledge of this being done to them. These experiments are being conducted through your societies in certain countries, none more in the country that you live in. This is a society which is oppressive in almost every way, and many do not recognize it. Many just think that that is the way that life is. This is what they are seeking.
That's right, and I think that this is what's happening at the moment, that people are waking up to the fact that we live in a very controlled, fear-based society which we want to get out of. And I think the beings that are awake is kind of we see the trails in the sky, we know our food's poisoned, we know our water's poisoned, and feel like on an individual basis we're quite powerless to it.
Yes, it is difficult, but you must concentrate on your own aspects of this journey. We fear that it is getting late for many places in the world to change. You must try and change in yourself, for either you can help people here when the change happens or where you are going.
What change is coming?
The change that has been spoken about, that has been prophesied, that many books are published on, many talks. Many people know that there is a change happening. The timing is not so precise because time is an infinite space. You have an idea of what that time is and your time frame. Your lives are very short, hence your obsession with its mastery of something that cannot be measured. You still try. there will be a change that happens to this planet. There will be destruction, there will be times of fear, there will be natural disasters. It is a shift that must happen for people to wake up. It is inevitable. This is the change that we fear.
Why do you fear this change?
It can send the population one way or the other into utter obliteration, in grief, in despair, or it can force a change to happen, a bump, as you would say, into the next level, into an understanding that this planet is fragile, that you are all fragile, and that you must respect what is around you. Too many years have passed, and the beings on this earth do not care what is being done to their environment, to the very planet that they need to survive on. This is a lesson that they shall not forget.
It feels like, though, when individuals wake up, that they've been in some sort of trance, that they didn't see outside, they couldn't see what was happening. And then we wake up and it's like, wow, my God, you can actually see for the first time. So there is billions and billions of pounds spent on keeping people asleep. So it feels like the game wasn't fair.
It is a game which has been played many times on many planets. This one, unfortunately, because of its gift of free will, was somewhat an experiment, somewhat a test to see what beings would do with ultimate free will. Unfortunately, as you all know, the negativity which came here ensnared many beings in that process, and through the use of free will created a system where some live well and others do not.
And the negativity that came here, are we talking about anarchy, ETs like negativity?
There are many ways that it can come through. On spiritual planes, on physical planes, there were beings who came here long ago in physical form. Now less of that is happening, almost none, but still the negativity is there on the physical plane through the connections made, through these hosts that live within physical bodies.
Because I do feel that if we had a more connection with Source, then we wouldn't have any of this.
That is somewhat correct. Free will is a very interesting gift. It is something that you as humans do not appreciate, how lucky you are to have free will as you wish to do. There are pros and cons, as you would say, to this. The creativity and the love and the bounds of your emotions are quite incredible. Other beings are not as lucky to feel the heights of emotions that you do, but with highs there are lows, and this unfortunately is what has taken hold here. More of the low and the darker energy has taken hold.
So this change that is coming could either go one or two ways. It could be like catastrophic for the human race, or it could be a very positive thing for the human race and life itself. Is that right?
It is a choice that will only be known on the moment of the precipice, on the moment where the change begins. Decisions will be made by individuals, and that will then set the tone for the energy going forwards.
Is this the talk about Earth moving from the third dimension up to the fifth dimension by moving up in vibration?
This is a possible outcome. This is what we would hope would be the direction. But even we must wait and see, for all possibilities are playing out at once. It is only here that we join you, that we are looking into your reality stream as you see it. This is an outcome of this stem of reality. It is difficult for us to explain when we see all things laid out, but we can only read through tunnels like a telescope looking at a star.
So as you are channeling through Lewis now into this reality, what possibilities can you see?
There are infinite possibilities at every junction. Every choice that you make, every door that you open, every drink that you take makes another reality stream. These open up into an infinite amount of possibilities, a giant web, a structure that cannot be perceived, much like you have seen the structure of the internet grow here. That is the structure of all things, a complexity that cannot be conceived by any one being, any group of beings ever created apart from the source itself. So the only thing you must concentrate on is your reality stream. It is your universe that you are living in. It is your comprehension of what lies ahead of you. The only question or the only choice that you have is to follow your mind, your logic, or your heart. The heart will lead you into bridging reality streams together and bring forward things in your life that are more positive. If you choose to make the choice through the logic, through the physical, the brain, if you will, there will always be two outcomes, opposites of one another, as there are two hemispheres. The heart is the center of those things and brings together a one choice, a one direction. This is why your planet has failed in its want for development, for choices were made with logic. Choices were not made with compassion and love, but you already know this.
No, that's fascinating. So if we use our minds to make a decision, we're going to get the duality come back at us. But if we think with our hearts, then it's going to be good for you and all.
Yes.
So how do we connect with our heart chakras? What would be your advice?
You must spend time getting to know that feeling, getting to know the pull of gravity, if you will, that is at the center of your being. It unites all of the chakras above and below. It unites all of the energy on both sides in the incarnation of both physical and spiritual being. The heart is the very center of who you are. It is, as you would say, practice that is needed to know this feeling, to know its direction. When you make a choice, you just feel it. You don't second guess it. You don't have to understand the logic and information and data behind a choice. You just do. It is difficult because there are many things on this earth that make you choose the logic. It is the way that our societies are set up here. It is the idea of academia, of knowing, of data collecting, of all of these things. This is something that will never lead to happiness.
So everyone should follow, as we say, intuition.
Yes.
Yeah. When you look at the human race and planet Earth, how do you feel about it? Do you have feelings?
We have feelings, yes. We feel very sad to see what many beings do with their choice of life. It is difficult for us to watch. It is difficult to see that planet and beings with such gifts would do this. We understand why, but it is difficult for us to see and for us to watch. But you are beings of your own choice. You must make your own choices, and we must leave you to do that.
Was Lewis one of you before he came with us?
This is a difficult question. For all beings, at some point in the infinite space of time, are light beings as you would perceive us. We are merely the earliest source or latest. This is difficult because time exists constant in all things. It is the final point of your soul, both male and female united as the twin flame partnership. So in technical terms, Louis, this being, is only half of what you would perceive as a light being. His other half is Jules. In this blending of these two beings creates the first part of the soul. We are debating on how to explain this precisely, but all beings are light beings in some form of time that is distant to them. He has had many existences before he's come here. If you wish to look at a linear time, he has had many lives on many planets. He has served as an advisor to many beings, some that are coming through to him now in support of him.
Is this his like final mission before he goes back to just being him and Jules go back to being a light being?
No.
And he's got more.
Many more.
And has he made that decision, or is the decision made for him?
This is a question that even we cannot answer. It is an infinite possibility of time spanning outwards. It is like a cell splitting from 1, 2, 4, so on. The universe as you perceive it is constantly growing, even though you would not be aware of it happening. Things live and they die, but time goes on in an infinite. This is the symbol that you would know as the infinity. There is no beginning and no end. There is only a stretching outwards and a compressing inwards. This happens simultaneously. This is why at this level we find it difficult to explain these specific questions, because they open up a large array of possibilities for an answer.
Yeah, and I think it's quite difficult for the human mind to even comprehend.
It is, yes.
The mission was to conduct this therapy, to get this information out.
This is one of his missions, yes. He chose to have this gift before he came here. We have on many opportunities tried to come through. It is somewhat difficult for you beings to hear voices and not question your own sanity. This is of course understandable, for your culture has a very limited understanding of this phenomenon. On other planets it is quite normal, and it is encouraged in those which have it. All the beings that are in this room present now have this ability, some more than others, and many are waking up to this ability. His mission here is to help others realize that this information is something that they can use to help themselves and others around them.
So you're giving this information to us. For me, it feels like there is hope for humanity.
There is hope in an extent, but you must understand from our perspective, life goes on. Whether you pass away as this physical body that you know now, you will live on many lifetimes forwards. We have not touched on the new earth, but I know you are eager to. It is another possibility that is waiting for many beings. This being visited that in his previous regression, and explain to you how sometimes a physical death here, upon waking, they would be a being ready-made and somewhat grown on the new earth. They would retain all of their memories here, and they would receive many more as they aged on this new earth. So you must understand that this planet has an important function for energy levels across the universe and galaxy, as many others are tied to its progression through the levels of energy. But ultimately, you have something waiting. There is no final death. It is and does not exist. You must always keep that in mind, that whatever happens here, you have something waiting. It is the hope that lives within all of us that we must also begin to remember.
This new earth, is it a physical earth like the one we're experiencing now?
There are many answers, but from your perspective, yes, it is a physical planet waiting, somewhat similar to this one. The axis of the planet is not quite as severe, meaning that temperatures on the planet as you would perceive them are much more stable. The climatic changes are much more subtle, and you would perceive it as a more spring and summer period all throughout the year. However, on this new planet, the illusion of time, as you are trying to understand it here, has a different meaning. The years and minutes go by in a very different way and are not as counted as you have them here.
We were kind of in a prison here at the time.
Yes.
And is it already created then? So it's waiting, so it's already there.
Yes, it is already waiting.
And is it in sort of in this area but at vibrating at a higher level so we don't see?
This is a difficult question, for it is on another dimensional plane altogether. Some would see it as next to each other. So yes, there is an understanding of this Earth's shadow being the new one. However, from your perspective, if you were to travel physically from point A to point B, it would be a long distance, but from a dimensional point of view, it is very close.
Would it work in that, would people have physical bodies?
Yes, they are mostly similar to yours. They have slightly different aspects to them. They are more resilient than the bodies you have here. They have a much better ability to heal and live much, much longer lives.
And would they just, would there be other beings in different bodies?
This planet, this new Earth, would be, when inhabited fully, a complete planet of the collective, meaning that many beings would come and go from this planet constantly, as you may have immigrants coming into the country, or tourists, as you call them, into your countries. There are a huge amount of physical beings that would visit this planet to share teachings, to share supplies, and also to share knowledge.
How do we get a ticket?
That is somewhat chosen for you already. It is something that you must also choose at certain points in your life. If you still have karmic work to continue, then you will go on to other planets to work this out. If you follow more of your heart and more of your direct path, this is a distinct possibility that you can go here. It is something that many beings on this earth have waiting for them. We cannot give specifics because that would take away your free will. There will be a chance given in the physical for a number of beings on this planet, meaning that they will live in a physical way, and there are also beings here that will live purely in a spiritual way. Yes, many populations that so-called disappeared were taken physically or some spiritually. There are a few instances of beings vibrating at such a level and frequency that they just appeared, if you were to look at them, to vanish into thin air and reappear on the new earth. However, this is a very rare occurrence and has only happened a number of 100 times.
Is it just a case of following your heart and releasing all your karma, or does diet play?
Diet is a very large part of understanding your physical body. You must understand that by opening the window, by opening to these energies, you unfortunately make the physical more fragile. You must pay respect to this. Your son Will, Adam, is experiencing this now. He is experiencing this shift happening. He will become sensitive to many things, and you must help him understand that this is something that he chose when coming here. He chose to receive these energies. As he becomes more attuned to his physical, the spiritual will follow, as it will with all of you. It is why we, as the spiritual community, are always led to understanding the balance of our physical and spiritual selves. You are in a building which personifies this completely. Look at the products that sit beneath you. These are beings that do not know why, but are drawn to a more natural approach to these things, especially regarding healing.
With Louis, is there anything he needs to do to raise his vibration more?
There are many things he must do to raise his vibration. He's finding it very difficult at the moment adjusting, and he must leave this country soon if he is to continue his work. This is why the choice of Mexico was presented. This is something that he has felt. He must be away from certain aspects of this environment. It is making him sick and will continue to do so. Unfortunately, we must tell you that if he remained here, his life would be quite short in this country. He must understand the urgency of this transition.
Would it be short because of natural disasters, or would his body just not cope with the
His body would deteriorate slowly, as it is starting to do. He has discovered many physical ailments and it is escalating. He has been given opportunities recently where he will escape some of this pressure until he can leave properly. You all must at some point make a decision to spend more time in a more natural living way. You will find these choices presented to you into your life, and it is your entire free will to take them or not.
So everybody will be given this choice?
Everyone will be directed to choices that will allow them to live in a more natural way. You already are noticing stories in the press, the understanding that technology is causing sickness and illness. This will escalate. Many, of course, will hide this information, but those who choose it to understand this information will need to heed it if they are to stay well.
On the transition, just so I can get it clear in my head, with the transition, if people choose to go to a new earth and they've worked off their karma, is it a choice individually to go at a certain time, or is the time now for everyone to go? Will it happen for everyone like that, or is it an individual?
It is an individual choice. And sometimes when in the case of a twin flame partnership being presented, it is a dual choice that must happen. One cannot leave without the other, for it damages those beings to be away once they have found or been reunited with their twin flames. It is difficult because it can cause a lot of tension also when those beings do not accept. It is very unnerving to have somebody understand you at such a fundamental level. It is why many beings also get frightened when they meet people from their soul groups again. It is an unnerving experience because here you do not have the knowledge or culture to understand what is happening, only that you meet somebody who you cannot explain, but they seem to know something about you. You have a very private and secret culture on this planet. It is part of the negativity that is here, because on many other planets you would be quite frightened that beings can look inside of you and see many things that you have done, many things that you have experienced. Here you would perceive that as some sort of invasion of your free will or invasion of your privacy. But on many planets there is no such thing as privacy. It is only a collective trying to help and understand each other. But the negative beings will choose anything that they can to try and get into. They will use it as a tool to force you away from the light. The thing that they wish most is that it becomes too much and you simply give up this spiritual pursuit. That is the purpose of what they are trying to do.
Right, okay, so that's why people get attached.
Yes.
Do they attack certain families?
They do,
Bloodlines?
yes. You have a very limited understanding here of the incarnation process of both physical and spiritual. There are certain requirements that are met for souls to be incarnated, and this so-called data or energy can also be held in the DNA structure. This does in fact travel down bloodlines and therefore helps groups of beings incarnate in those bodies because they are somewhat more genetically equipped for certain tasks. Not to say that they are better, but they have abilities that others may not. But know this, your scientists are just understanding that DNA, in fact, even in your bodies can be changed dramatically. Many aspects of your DNA are able to change throughout your lifetime, and it is up to you to help that DNA become a more solid structure and move away from a weaker one.
And how, so can we change it through, how do we change it? Is it through thoughts or?
DNA is a slow changing aspect of your physicality. It is the final adaptation of the physical change. It takes somewhat around 6 months to 12 months to change one element of the DNA molecule. So it is something that you must put work into. It is part of the lesson here. You see, on many planets and many systems, change is very instant. If you wish to have some knowledge, if you wish to create something physical, you merely wish it or think it and you can call it into existence. Here you do not have that ability. There is somewhat of a memory of this in your species, and this is why many people are lazy to change. They are used to getting everything in a very instant way. Here work must be put into it. Your metabolism, your health, your brain function, many things can be affected, but you must remember that it is a slow process, as is healing. But you must also understand that your environment does play a factor. the environment that you're in and the interference from toxins or electromagnetic frequencies that are unchecked merely work as white noise or a disturbance in this energy, and therefore slow this process even more. Jules and Adam, you must understand that the environment that you are in, if you were to change your DNA structure in the environment that you work in, would take you around 10 to 20 years. If you were living in a completely natural environment, this process would take around 6 months. This is what we are talking about. But we are also talking about the degradation that happens through this micro amounts of radiation. It causes the human body to age more. You see this in many ways, and as technology is increasing, you see diseases that were once only diseases that would be of older age, like Alzheimer's, dementia, osteo conditions happening at younger and younger ages. This is this micro degradation happening.
Yeah, it does seem that young and old people suffer with mental problems. But you said osteo as well, bone.
Yes, they require huge amounts of energy to lay down or absorb bone. Many beings think that bone is a solid structure. It is in fact not. It moves constantly. It is reabsorbed and laid down. And this electromagnetic frequency reduces the ability to do this. This is why anybody who works or lives in a very high level of electromagnetic frequency is very prone to these conditions, particularly of bone, nervous system and brain health.
If we are currently living working in an environment that's like that, how can we help counteract that?
There are some crystals that we can use to do this, but you already know that. Ultimately, the choice must come for you to leave these environments if you are to remain healthy. Unless you can persuade others to see this point of view and somewhat insulate these electromagnetic frequencies. For instance, having Wi-Fi in your homes is not a good idea. It is something that will slowly degrade your body. You must only see this in the natural world. There have been studies that have been published very recently that you can find that prove that Wi-Fi rays do actually stop plants and many other species from growing even. You must try and insulate all use of technology as much as possible. This is the way on many planets and many systems. We use materials to insulate these electromagnetic waves and frequencies to keep them within the boundaries of the technology, and so they do not leach out into the environment. So technology is the natural progression of things, but care has not been put onto making sure that these electromagnetic frequencies do not escape the technologies that you use. Many of the technologies that you use have in fact raw metal exposed with the technology. The amounts of radiation and electromagnetic frequencies when they are encased with pure metal is so high it is dangerous.
With the DNA, there's lots of talk about this. We have 2 strands of DNA, and actually there is 12 strands available to us, but they're not activated. Is that correct?
It is somewhat correct. It is a limited understanding of the physical structure of things. You do not have the ability right now with your technology to view all that happens on a cellular and molecular level. This will not be discovered for some time yet. but only know that there are many things that happen within the physical that are too small for you to perceive, even with the greatest electron microscopes that you have at your disposal.
When someone is waking up, is it their DNA that's being activated?
It is a dual process. The incarnation that happens in any physical form is a dual process, a coming in of a soul energy which is untangible. It is pure energy and therefore has technically no form. But there is also a physical incarnation, your body, your vessel that you inhabit, and it is a dual being of both physical and energy. The DNA changing is a manifestation of this process happening, so it is difficult to pinpoint which happens first and which happens second, but it is a process which happens in a duality.
Is there ways of awakening somebody?
No, there is no way to awaken another. It is a choice that they must make themselves entirely. It may be through a small lifestyle change. It may be through a large one. It depends on the being. This being here had a lifestyle change within health and fitness and understanding his physicality that allowed him to perceive more. That was all he needed to do to start this process. Others come from an entirely spiritual aspect for this awakening to happen, and the physical then must come afterwards.
Okay. And why is it all happening around the same time for everybody? Is it lots of people are waking up around the same time? Are we given a choice at this time, or is it new energy coming in?
It is a chain reaction. It is like we said earlier, the cells splitting. Once energy comes in, it causes a chain reaction, but it is still individual free will and choice whether this continues to happen. Unfortunately, it is happening at quite a slow rate here on this planet. Many, yes, are awakening, but many more have not.
So you're hoping for more?
Yes, we incarnated beings here on this earth that were purposed with creating large amounts of this chain reaction to happen, and unfortunately many of them were caught by the society, many of them were polluted by the negative energy, and some of them were even taken out of the equation.
You mean, did the dark side locate them?
Yes.
So they're not. So when you send people here, you're unable to protect them.
Yes, there is only so much we can do. It is still up to that being what and how they live their lives.
So there certain individuals that then will wake up like beacons?
Yes. There are beings that come here in a very pure incarnated state, very pure souls with very advanced DNA or better and higher abilities than the people around them. Adam in this room is one of those, but he had many experiences when he was younger with that dark energy and negativity, which until now has almost dissuaded him away from it.
So the fear associated with that has stopped him developing further?
Yes.
But if he was able to get rid of the fear, he would be able to help a lot of people wake up?
Yes.
And how would you advise him to progress to that level where he was able to wake people up?
It is a slow step of embracing small amounts of truth. It is difficult to go from point A to Z all in one go. So you must take very small steps, very small amounts of information in, as to not overload yourself or others around you. These small choices make the large amount of difference. Every being on this planet who is awake has had experience with dark energy, and they have chosen to go the right way as opposed to the wrong.
Unfortunately, our politicians and corporations, they've unfortunately all the people in power who implement policies, structure on this earth are all inhumane. They have no conscience of what they're doing. That's what it appears to be.
Know this: they will receive karma back for what they have done. It is difficult only to pass this judgment on them, but they will suffer in many ways that you cannot perceive. It is a mistake that they have made that they will pay for.
I'm finding that I'm coming across people who have come here first way is to help people raise in vibration, but they themselves are stuck in negativity and depression, but it's because they just don't want to be here. How can I help these people raise up in vibration?
It is difficult. We would suggest that one of the initial phases is to understand your physicality better. Your health plays a huge factor in your ability to resist many types of negative energy. Small choices in the food you eat, the water that you drink, and many other things can be just enough to sway you in one direction towards the light. This is something that would be good for all to practice, even starting with small steps as you have experienced yourself.
Okay. So look at all aspects of the person.
Yes, it must be holistic. There are many practices here, many spiritual practices which look at one or the other in detail. Many have forgotten that it is only with uniting the two that true ascension can happen.
So on a spiritual basis and a physical, so uniting those bases.
Yes, it must happen together.
Would you like these sessions to carry on? So Lewis to do many of these sessions and be recorded to put the information out there?
We will present many opportunities for this to happen, and we are always here to listen, to guide, and to talk with you. It is our pleasure to talk with you.